The Sphere in Las Vegas is a project that has been in the press a lot lately, and it was a $2.2 billion building, and it has like 17,500 seats in it, and they're doing all sorts of stuff. It's basically one big sphere billboard on the outside, and on the inside, it's this amazing theater that they've had to develop special cameras even to shoot in that sort of a dome area. It's very cool, but it costs $2.2 billion. And this is an example of a couple things that I see as red flags in projects. Number one, if you spend too much money at the beginning of a project on your building, it can be an anchor that you just never get out from under. It can just be something that drags you down and you never can make enough to get out in front of it. And so you're never going to see the return. And that is very easy for people to do, especially today when everything's very expensive. The other thing is that the owner, so James Dolan, not a personal connection of mine in any way, but generally speaking, New York is pretty unhappy with him. He's the owner of a basketball team that I think is habitually underperformed. He's the owner of real estate that people are frustrated by, potentially getting in the way of development in the Madison Square Garden area. He's a type of owner who isn't necessarily known for making and hitting a whole lot of home runs. And so it's one thing if you have a track record of developing projects and knowing how to budget, knowing how to bring ideas to life in a way that actually becomes a good business. In this case, the president of the Sphere left very quickly, very recently. Whether or not that is, who, without getting into it and without knowing the details, it's just probably a bad indicator in any way. And so you've got groups like U2 who are playing for, supposedly $1 million a show. When you do the math on that, even if they're making $1 million in profit every day for the whole year, so like $365 million a year, you're still not getting a repayment on that 2.2 billion for like 6 years. And that's just making some pretty wild assumptions based on what's been said and sort of, I think, over projecting. $1 million in profit every day would be pretty good. I think most business owners would say. But the point is that, they're already talking about how this is an issue, how their return isn't exactly what they thought it would be, or maybe what they wanted it to be. My whole point is that it sure seems like that's the kind of back of the envelope math that I have to do and I insist on doing with any owners I work with, because why would we draw anything? Why would we do any work really before we have some idea? The work at the beginning isn't making drawings. The work at the beginning is figuring out the rules of the game, how much we have to spend, what's the return going to be on that? And obviously things change in the course of developing that project. Inflation is a thing. We are, coming out of a very difficult situation in the whole construction industry. The point is that things change, but that's why it has to work at a sort of back of the envelope way. Like at a very high level, we have to be confident that we can move forward, even if things escalate, in a fairly unpredictable way. Because now they're in a point where they're saying, we've got this $2.2 billion thing. Everybody says it's cool. Everybody says it's amazing. That's not the problem. The thing itself is not the problem, but how they got there seems to be a huge issue. And that's exactly what you want to avoid when you're developing a project, because you have to make better decisions along the way as an owner, because most owners can't take a huge loss every year on their business. And if that's intended to be just purely an advertising thing, or if they're going to have enough other revenue streams to, come in and sort of support it, then maybe it does work. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying outwardly that they're concerned that it's not going to make enough money. And that's a bummer because it is such a cool thing. So that's always the balance, is how do we invest the right amount of money to make a cool enough thing, a cool enough building project, whatever that is, that people are going to get excited about it, while also seeing the returns down the line that you need in your situation for your goals in your context. And it's very easy to overspend. I've seen this many times. And so this is really just one example of a situation where I point to the owner because the owner at the end of the day is the one writing the checks, making the decisions. Even in a business, the buck has to stop with someone. And so if that person isn't making good decisions, that is a really sort of common way for projects to spiral into a bad spot. And that may be what happened in the sphere. Obviously, I wasn't involved in the project. I can't say for sure, but pointing out a couple of these high level things that I see. So, we have to be careful with our initial capital investment because it can be a real anchor that you might just not get out from under over the next 5 or 10 years of your business. And for most owners, that's just not a possibility. And so, we really need to figure that out before we put anything into the ground. And the sooner the better. So, working it out at a high level, that's really how we can do this. And if that is a way of working and a way of thinking that you think can help you in your building project, then reach out because that's exactly what I do with clients every day. And I'm here to help. So thank you for watching.